It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be discussing a video from Otzdarva that was suggested by one of you guys in the Discord community. So I think a few of you guys actually recommended this video. And if you want to be able to do that, you can suggest your own videos for reacts and things like that, or discussions and topics and things like that. Feel free to join the Discord, accept the rules with the knife emoji, and you can speak with the rest of us about DVD or other stuff. And let's go ahead and get into it. This video, obviously, like I just mentioned, is from Otzdarva, or in this case, Not Otzdarva, and the video is titled "The 2 Paths Ahead for DVD." So I'm actually very curious to see what this is really about. And of course, I'm only going to be discussing very specific talking points within the video. If you want to watch the original, it is linked in the description, so you can watch the rest on your own. But we're going to be specifically covering certain parts.
But as I play him more and more, I notice one repeating factor that just makes this killer so unenjoyable for me, that drives me so crazy. And it is holding distance against them. Now, the main power of Vecna, as I'm sure most of you know by now, is to attack survivors with vines. This is a really powerful attack that in some situations can down survivors really quickly, but the main counterplay to it is to just keep your distance. If you're far enough, he cannot use it against you effectively. So survivors obviously try to run away and keep that distance, which is completely fine, because he does have a secondary power that allows him to go underground and then catch up to the survivor. Now, when you emerge from underground, you're not guaranteed to hit the survivor unless they make a mistake, but there's a chance that you might. However, and this is the part that's really annoying, exhaustion comes into play. Exhaustion perks on the survivors make this small chance a 0% chance. With sprint burst, it is trivial. You just walk a second, sprint burst away, you will never.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that we're finally seeing this from Otzdarva specifically, because this is something that I've noticed. Like when the character came out, this is something I've noticed even with other characters that come out. And the Shift+W meta is what I like to call it, and it's something that is very prevalent within this game. It's very prevalent with a lot, like I would say a vast majority of the killers, unfortunately, are countered by the whole W meta, or the Shift+W meta. And that's why sprint burst is so prevalent. This is why, you know, a lot of characters are considered very low tier, because of the fact that they are just really unable to catch up to the movement speeds that sprint burst can offer, or just Shift+W pre-dropping and things like that. And this is why characters like Kaneki, I think, are so important to have in the game, because of the fact that there are ways to counter these things by using these characters. Like, and those characters, even Blight included, also don't have to deal with the Shift+W meta, because they're able to catch up very quickly. Same thing with other characters. And that's why those characters are picked so often, and that's why a lot of characters that come out nowadays are, you know, a little bit on the weaker side. I mean, we can look at Springtrap as a perfect example. He is essentially just an M1 killer with the option of throwing something at range, but even then, it's only at a very close-up medium range usually, and he's not obviously the next Huntress or anything. So, yeah, I mean, this is something that a lot of the low tiers and a lot of even the middle tier killers had to deal with. This is something that is extremely common, unfortunately, within the game, and that is just kind of how it is, unfortunately. And there really isn't a lot of ways to counter it really at all, unfortunately. And it leads to pretty uninteractive gameplay. I've spoken about you know, sprint burst in general, as to how, you know, very anti-interaction it is with the game, considering that you are literally pressing a button and then just kind of flying off. So you're not really doing anything directly with the killer. You're not really in chase. You're just kind of getting out of range, and then that's it. Like, boom, that interaction's over. And then if the killer can somehow catch up, then you have to then push into a situation where now you have to interact with the killer. And that's just been my issue, you know, with the you know, balancing.
Ever get hit. Even weaker perks like Dramaturgy also allow you to basically dodge this 100% of the time. And possibly even more annoying is Dead Hard. Dead Hard allows you to dodge this hit and dodge the possible damage that you would take from it. And there's no real guessing or anything. You can't fake it. You cannot like expand it and then cancel. Once you do it, the survivor has a particular timing. If they do it well, and they will, they get away, make even more distance. Also,
So I'm glad that Odds is actually mentioning this, because we heard a lot from a lot of players like, oh my god, this character is so difficult to go up against. And at the end of the day, Behavior even gave their own video to show, like, look, this is something that you should be like, this is how you counter this character, right? And then we're hearing from Otz as well, like, the character's pretty easy to dodge, especially when you're using a teleport. Keep your distance. Like, the Shift+W meta, like, is the same thing. Like, you just continue to do that, you're going to be fine. Like, it doesn't really change very much. So I mean, it's kind of surprising that people still complain about it, to me at least, considering the fact that, you know, the proof is in the pudding here.
That heart can also be used to dodge the bind attack. This cannot be faked either. I tried doing it against an ace that you're gonna see in this video, and it doesn't work. Like, even if they look at you, they don't have to guess or do it ahead of time. They can simply react to the noise and the visual cue, and they will get it every single time. Now, I know what you're gonna say, but Odds, there is an add-on that allows you to go faster when you emerge, and there's...
Yeah, this is something that I heard a lot about from people that were talking about the Vecna countering guide that Behavior released. Like, oh, well, they're just telling us to use Sprint Burst, and there's an exhaustion add-on. It's like, that's not exactly, you know, the greatest add-on in the game. I mean, if you're playing Vecna, like, I don't think anybody is putting on that rabbit add-on. Let's just be so for real, number one. Because there's other add-ons that do way more. And because of that fact, right, bloody roller skate, giving you 2 seconds of 20%, which can get you, maybe can shave off, let's say, 5 seconds out of the 20 seconds in the example that we saw within Otz's video here. But also the mere fact that, like, the range add-on is, like, when you're outside of the world breaker mode, is just better. Like, you just, the other one that breaks stuff, you know, when you come out of the teleport, is just better. Like, why would I walk around wasting a full add-on slot to put on exhaustion? Is kind of crazy. But let's continue and let's see what Otz has to say.
Add-on that allows you to exhaust survivors so that they cannot do this. I know everyone is running this add-on, and everyone seems to be running the same build, and it really bothers me that this killer has one way to be played and almost nothing else feels nearly as good.
Okay, so Otz at least is informed, at least indirectly is informing me about this, because I didn't realize that was the current meta for the Vecna enjoyers. Because, you know, I did play them a little bit. I did play Henry a little bit. But I've just, as you guys who have been tuning into the streams, I've really been like locked in with Billy. I think Billy has been like the most fun that I've had on this game probably ever. And like I've been kind of playing Vecna a little bit, but I can't say like it's like my go-to in comparison to Billy currently. And I guess now I know that it is indeed actually meta. So I stand corrected on that. Didn't realize everyone was running it. Same exact builds, it seems. My bad. I was running completely different builds. I was running completely different things. My mistake. Clearly. Let's continue.
And when I get asked how strong this killer is or whether or not this killer is balanced, I have this massive cognitive dissonance, this massive Schrodinger's effect, where this killer is both balanced and unbalanced at the same time. And thinking about it, it made me realize this killer is perfectly balanced in the current version of Dead by Daylight. But there's a secondary, an alternative version of Dead by Daylight that I hope that we get to someday, where this killer would not be balanced and would need some changes. Now, these two versions of the game are not necessarily bad and good or correct and incorrect. I'm just gonna, I personally prefer the second one. That's why I'm gonna make it all shiny and sunny and beautiful. But just to make it clear, this is my opinion. Your vision for this game could be completely different, and that's valid. Anyway, let's talk about the current path that DVD is going to. The one where this Vecna, or version of Vecna, is totally balanced and probably just fine the way he is. This is a version of DBD where the average map is pretty large and some of them are extremely large. And survivors in general have the options to traverse all of this map. You can go on one of the biggest maps in the game and choose a survivor and go all the way around them because they have exhaustion perks, because they have haste effects. Sometimes they see you from afar, like for example on the outer path of the RPD maps, and they can just hold forward and it will just take you seconds and seconds and seconds and seconds to even catch up, let alone start the chase, let alone get rid of resources, let alone get a hit.
So thank you, Odds, for mentioning that, because this is something that I've talked about constantly in my videos. And is the current path, as he says, with the high extremes with maps are just gigantic. And this is exactly why I've stopped playing Ghostface entirely, because of the mere fact that he just does not have any map traversal whatsoever. So gigantic maps and pre-run with exhaustion perks and huge lines of sight basically renders him useless, because if Ghostface's entire thing is to try to catch them off guard without getting into a chase, really, then that would essentially mean I have to somehow not get spotted from point A to point B in all of that time while they're working on a gen. And if that is the case, then I'm still going to lose a generator somewhere, which means I'm still not going to be able to apply any map pressure because of the span of time it takes for me to go to point A to point B. And as you can see, even here with Wesker, 37 seconds, he's still trying to track down this one guy. So that's over 37% of a generator pretty much, which means, can you imagine if you're playing Ghostface, right? Like you're on foot at all times. The chases are super long if you decide to commit to them. You have to essentially focus on what can you go for, and a lot of the times all the chases are not favorable. You know, in comparison to other characters that have chase potential and mobility, you go, well, I'm not going to play the character that has nothing. Like, it seems kind of pointless. But that is unfortunately how the game is currently. Let's continue.
Aura down, right? So this is something that in theory, in a vacuum, should be really, really strong for survivors. But in practice, it's not really that important because many killers are very agile and move around the map very fast, like for example, the Blight.
Exactly. This is exactly my point, because I can play characters with high mobility. I can play characters that can hold their own against this, and it makes sense and it works out because I have more flexibility to be able to go around the map and actually traverse. And it does allow for some interesting clips because of the map size and things like that. You can essentially snipe with different characters, which is fine. Now, the problem is that the lower tiers kind of get punched in the stomach pretty much every update because of that. Because they just do not lack mobility. You know, and even characters like Springtrap, which I think are like the super mid of the mid, I think they still suffer. You know, they still have a really slow teleport. You have to slowly walk through the security room and then slowly come out. And they know where you're going and where you're coming from because of the loud noises and the indicators everywhere. You know, they make it very easy for people to know that he's coming. So it's not exactly the most, you know, useful character, I would say, in the roster.
Others can teleport almost immediately after chase or in between chases, so the big size of the map is not that big of a deal. And there are some other killers that are slow, but once they catch up, they start destroying you regardless of how many pallets you have around the map, such as the Nurse or the first Vecna, right? Then, obviously, that leaves us with some killers that don't have any of these things. There are some killers in the game that do not have a teleport, do not have a strong chase power, and do not have crazy mobility. And these killers, for the most part, are weaker, but some of them have certain things about them that make them harder for new players or unintuitive. And in the stats, they are not that far from the other killers, so the developers generally, they don't really care. Another feature that you might have noticed about our version of the game is that killers often waste a lot of time doing nothing. Survivors do so much gen, so much healing, so much progress on their objectives, on side objectives, while the killer is busy breaking a pallet, vaulting a window, picking up a survivor, then very slowly going around the hill because that hook there is the only hook that you can realistically get to. Then you hook very slowly, and in all of this time that you're wasting, the generators are being done in the background. It's obviously no surprise that the weaker killers absolutely rely on these slowdown perks. Without these slowdown perks, how can they honestly keep up with the pace of the game sometimes?
Thank you, Otzdarva, for speaking the absolute truth. This is exactly, which is crazy because I've said this so many freaking times. Constantly, right? Constantly. I've been voicing this almost every video, discussing this exact point. And the mere fact is, like, the low tier killers cannot keep up. I've mentioned this before, like, we have to slowly pick up the time it would take to not only get completed, like find the person, get into chase, get the 2 health states, then when they finally get down, you have to then pick up, then slowly walk all the way over to a hook, then from the hook travel all the way from that hook to a gen in that span of time. So at that point, it's like that could easily be ranging from 30 to 50 seconds depending on how long everything takes. So of course gens are going to be flying, because it's like, what other thing are they going to do, you know? So it's very difficult to want to play a character like Ghostface, or even, believe it or not, even freaking Springtrap, or even other characters ranging even into the A tiers, even, like, sometimes. Like, I think even Pyramid Head, I was like, I don't think I can continue to do this. Because, like, the map traversal is just better. Like, it feels better to use. You're at least able to save extra time. You can kind of run whatever perks you like, because you can rely on the fact that if you're good with your character that has mobility, you have a better chance of getting it down. And that is in general, like, an important thing. And I'm just glad to see it, basically, is my point. And it's just like, I don't know, like, I don't know what to do, especially as a Ghostface main for a while. Like, I've completely just kind of put in the game on I put my character on the shelf pretty much, because, like, what else is there for me to do? You know? But yeah, let's go ahead and continue here. So I want to go ahead and move forward a little bit to see kind of like, what is the alternative path. If you want to hear Otz's explanation about it, watch the original video, but I want to just quickly, like, kind of like gloss over, I guess you could say, what was said here. So it says that the maps could be slightly smaller. I like that idea. General nerfing to exhaustion perks, which I agree with that as well. General nerf to haste on both sides is a little concerning. Only because of the fact that some characters like Ghostface kind of rely on that, like, to be able to actually do their thing. Because of the fact, yeah, because Ghostface in general is, like, one of the weakest killers in the game. Like, I think right next to Skull Merchant. And the one thing that Ghostface does have is of course, his haste add-on. Of course, like, if you pair it with play with your food, at least it can help reduce some chase time. If you're able to catch somebody with a mark early, you know, before they can reach something. Or even if you catch them out in the open, you could use that haste to catch up and then hopefully save time to try to get them to, you know, go down sooner. Now, the problem is obviously, you know, like, that's only one character, and I know that a general nerf, probably, if you consider the rest of these changes at the same time, would probably be more beneficial. So then, you know, once again, just kind of like, I might, like, which in that case, I once again still have to leave the character on the shelf. Because there really isn't a lot of reason to even play the character, especially when they are, like, so slow and, like, have no chase power. Like, and to me, like, the Myers rework would have been great on this on Ghostface. Like, if you just take the Ghostface mechanics and then add in this, like, a slaughtering strike, I think that would have completely made him a lot more lethal, a lot more, like, you know, more interesting to play. But unfortunately, they gave it to Myers instead, so that just kind of leaves Ghostface once again in the dust, because he doesn't really get anything. General nerf to slow down perks and more emphasis on delaying gens to keep survivors busy organically. The thing is that, like, when we see, like, this is the thing that I wish that was discussed more, is, like, the gen progression. Because gen progression is quite quick, so I'm like, like, woo, like, can we please address the gen progression? Like, I think there's something that needs to be said when we're able to stack, like, gen progression on multiple perks at a time, and then toolboxes also do that. And I'm like, wait, like, can we look at that though? Like, I get it, you want to nerf the slowdown perks, but, like, wait a minute, we need to do something about the progression. You know what I mean? Like, if we're gonna have a slowdown nerf as well, like, we need to also make sure that the progression is at an even playing field with that as well, so that it, like, say pain res was reduced to 15%, you know what I mean, at least it won't, like, be basically worthless because the progression is so crazy. Like, that's just my thing. And then general nerf to S tier killers, which is, I mean, I kind of see that coming. And general rework to make unintuitive killers less confusing. which I'm not sure exactly what the unintuitive killers are. Maybe Odds does explain it, but obviously I'm not covering the the entire thing in the video. You can do that on your own. But that is pretty much generally what I've wanted to discuss today. And I'm really glad to hear that at least Odds is trying to bring some awareness to this situation, because I've been trying to do that for quite a long time, trying to bring some awareness to the drastic, imbalance, you could say, when it comes down to, the game right now, right? Because the S tiers are so crazy, the low tiers can't really hold their own. And then we have a situation where a lot of Survivor players are complaining that, oh, we only see the S tiers and the slowdowns and this and that and third. And it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's an Ouroboros effect, where like one is trying to react to the other, and then the other is also giving something to react to. So then that affects it in a cycle, basically, for like infinitely. Because of that, like you have a killer running 4 slowdowns on Blight, so then they bring Gen Rush builds, but then the person who's decided to play Ghostface or something ends up getting like freaking bodied, so then they switch to Blight, and then they go against somebody who's probably running a meme build, and then they're like, well, we're just gonna have to run Gen Rush builds to keep up, and then it just keeps kind of going. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, we have to kind of see what happens in the future, of course, but that is my thoughts. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section, and if you really want to support the channel, well, if you want to support, hit the like button, sub, do all that, and leave a comment. If you really want to support, you can go ahead and become a member on YouTube or Patreon, or you can even sub on Twitch. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off our members from Patreon. Pro King 101, YouTube members: Kargan Falcon, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not JLo, Evil Peach, Cozy Bozy, Theo Endire, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. And for the Twitch, we have Final Girl Bunny, Leona Art, Zazabu, Evil Blade, Danica, Pro Vader, Cake is a Road, Zeneron, Ginsburg, Mr. Morik, Kevin, Zero Mocker, Ashai Boo, and Gryffindor. Appreciate you guys supporting. Really means a lot. If you want to become a member, you can go ahead and join through Patreon or YouTube members, or even sub on Twitch. See you guys in the next one.